wide-tacked, distant, but secretly watch you with love. Cats have a talent for making love look like indifference. They sit a little far away, glance at you for half a second, then pretend the wall is suddenly fascinating. But somehow, they always know where you are. They hear your footsteps before you reach the door. They notice when your mood changes. And on the days when your heart feels heavy, they appear beside you as if they had quietly been waiting for that exact moment. Cats may not love with noise or drama, but they love with attention. And sometimes the ones who act like they do not care at all are the ones watching over you most closely. If you live with a cat, you have probably felt this little confusion before. You call their name, and they blink as if you are a mildly interesting piece of furniture. You open your arms, and they suddenly remember urgent business in another room. But the moment you close the bathroom door, they are outside like a tiny security guard on duty. The moment you cry, they appear without being called. The moment you leave home, they sit near the entrance, pretending it is simply a coincidence. This is the first truth about cats. Distance is often part of their style, not proof of indifference. Unlike dogs, who usually wear their feelings right on their furry sleeves, cats are masters of measured affection. In the wild, showing too much need can be risky. A cautious animal survives by observing first, moving second, and revealing feelings last. Even inside a safe home, that old design still lives in them. So when a cat watches you closely, it is not doing nothing. It is gathering information, checking emotional weather, and making sure its world is still in place. And in your cat's world, you are not a small detail. You are the climate. That is why many cats seem casual while keeping track of your every movement. They notice the sound of your footsteps and can tell who is walking before the door even opens. They learn the rhythm of your mornings, the hour you usually reach for your keys, the tone of voice that means you are calm, tired, or upset. A cat may not rush over with dramatic enthusiasm, but it is paying attention in a way that is surprisingly intimate. Sometimes this looks almost funny. Your cat acts as if it has absolutely no interest in your laptop, yet the second you start working, there it is, sitting between you and the screen like an unpaid supervisor. It pretends not to care what you are doing, while clearly making it everyone's business. That is very cat-like love, dignified, mysterious, and slightly inconvenient. There is also a deeper emotional reason behind this watchfulness. Cats are creatures of pattern and security. The people they trust become part of the structure that makes life feel safe. Watching you is one way of staying connected without feeling exposed. It lets them love you while still keeping a little pride intact. They do not always need to be held to feel close. Sometimes for a cat, closeness means simply knowing where you are, hearing you breathe, and resting where one eye can remain gently open. So when your cat seems aloof, look closer. Indifference and quiet adoption can look surprisingly similar from a distance. A cat's love is written in small print, not in grand performances, but in presence. In the hallway stare, in the slow blink from the doorway, in the soft body curled nearby, pretending sleep while listening. Once you learn that language, their silence becomes one of the warmest conversations home. One of the most touching things about cats is that they often love in a way that protects their own softness. They want connection, but they do not always want to look vulnerable while asking for it. So instead of running straight into your arms like a joyful little tornado, they invent subtler methods. They sit near you, but not too near. They stretch out on the edge of the bed, carefully leaving a few inches of emotional dignity between you. They follow you from room to room as if they just happen to have the exact same schedule. It would be adorable if it were not delivered with such serious professionalism. This is why so many cats pretend not to care while quietly staying close. Nearness allows them to feel safe. Observation allows them to feel in control. And for a sensitive animal, control can feel a lot like comfort. A cat that watches you is often asking a silent question. Are we okay? Is everything normal? Are you still my person today? That question may sound dramatic in human words, but in feline behavior, it appears as sitting on the windowsill while tracking your reflection in the glass, or casually washing a paw while monitoring your entire existence. Cats also read emotion better than many people expect. They may not understand the reason you are sad, stressed, or grieving, but they are excellent at noticing changes in energy, routine, posture, and voice. When your movements become heavier, when your silence lasts longer than usual, when your laughter disappears from the room, many cats respond by drawing closer. Not every cat does it the same way. Some sit beside you, some sleep near your feet, some place one paw on your arm as if filing a small but urgent emotional report. Others simply remain nearby, offering the kind of companionship that asks for nothing and somehow gives a lot. That quiet presence matters because cats are not drawn only to food and comfort. They are drawn to familiarity, rhythm, and emotional safety. If you are part of the pattern they trust, your feelings affect them too. A tense home can make a cat restless. A grieving human can make a cat unusually clingy. A lonely person may suddenly find a cat appearing more often, settling nearby with the solemn face of a therapist who also enjoys knocking pens off tables. And that contradiction is part of their charm. Cats can be emotionally perceptive and ridiculously silly at the same time. One minute they are gazing at you with ancient wisdom, as if they understand every ache in your chest. The next minute, they are startled by their own tail. Living with a cat means accepting that profound tenderness and complete nonsense often arrive in the same furry body. So when your cat watches you from the doorway, the shelf, or the corner of the couch, do not be too quick to call it coldness. Sometimes that steady gaze is affection wearing a disguise. Sometimes it is love that does not know how to make speeches. And sometimes, in the quietest way possible, your cat is saying, "I see you. I trust this room because you are in it." Perhaps that is why cat love can feel so moving once you finally understand it. It is not loud love. It is not the kind that demands applause. It is the kind that sits quietly at the edge of your hardest days and stays. A cat may never announce devotion in obvious ways, yet it remembers your habits, your moods, your fragile hours. It learns the sound of the chair you pull out when you are about to sit in silence. It learns which evenings you move slowly, which mornings you wake before the alarm, which sigh means more than 1,000 words. And then, with the gentlest kind of loyalty, it keeps watch. For many people, that is why a cat becomes more than a pet. It becomes a witness, a small breathing presence that sees versions of you the rest of the world does not. The tired version, the grieving version, the version that smiles in front of people and then comes home carrying invisible weight. Cats often meet that hidden self without judgment. They do not ask you to explain why you are quiet. They simply arrive, sit nearby, and make the room feel less empty. That can look like a cat curling at the foot of the bed when life feels too heavy, or waiting outside the door with that serious little face as if conducting an official inspection of your emotional condition, or appearing exactly when you need comfort, then pretending it was entirely random and definitely not an act of tenderness. Cats are very committed to protecting their reputation. Deeply caring. Yes, obviously caring. Absolutely not. But beneath that composed surface is something delicate and real. Many cats fear sudden change, emotional distance, and the loss of familiar bonds. That is why they notice when you leave more often, when your tone changes, when another person or animal enters the home, when sadness lingers too long. Their watchfulness is not always curiosity. Sometimes it is attachment. Sometimes it is concern. Sometimes it is their quiet way of making sure love has not disappeared from the room, and maybe that is what makes them so unforgettable. Cats teach us that affection does not always need noise to be sincere. Sometimes love is simply attention. Sometimes love is choosing the same person over and over in small, invisible ways. A look from across the room, a body settling nearby, a slow blink that feels almost like a whispered trust. They may act as if they do not care, but their eyes keep returning to you. Their ears follow your footsteps. Their heart, in its own guarded way, keeps checking that you are still there. So if your cat watches you closely while pretending not to, do not mistake that for distance. You are being loved in the language your cat knows best. Quietly, carefully, faithfully. And in a world full of loud things, there is something deeply beautiful about a creature who says, without words, without drama, without ever making a fuss at all, "I am here. I have been here. I was watching because you matter to me."